Hi, everybody. I'm Mills, the AI anthropologist with about 25 years of experience understanding systems, whether they use AI or not, and how they support or actually frustrate decisions, whether they're procurement, national strategic security decisions, decisions under high stress situations and contexts where things really matter about what's said and what's done. But anyway, I'm now moving wholeheartedly, full-throatedly into the world of AI, and in particular, bringing my human science credentials and chops into that. And I think all of us can agree, no matter whether coming from a purely technocratic or a purely behavioral, human-focused perspective, that what we might want to call the generative AI honeymoon is well and truly over. In 2026, then, enterprise leaders are facing really a need for a pragmatic reset. Chatbots are failing to deliver true ROI. Agentic AI value remains elusive for most. 80 to 88% of implementations are failing. And that's really because organizations are treating AI as just another software installation and rollout, rather than what I think is more important, and as you'll see from my other video, being about a behavioural transplant, a transplant of a system or system of systems into an existing socio-technical world of workflows, people, emotions, their history and memory relating to prior software rollouts, including AI. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the operational layer of autonomous enterprises and why these have failed to gain traction. Moving past all the tech hype of great promises and massive amounts of token use, that's a mistake. I'm going to be exploring why 80% at least of AI integration, and certainly ways of getting towards 80% success instead of 80% failure, is actually about ensuring that data engineering, governance, strategy is connected with, enabled by, fueled by human behavioral alignment. And I'm going to be providing the outline of an exact framework required to ensure that if multi-agent systems are being implemented, they actually improve real-world productivity, real-world efficiency, and real-world high-stakes decision-making in, of course, real-world workflows. And if you want to solve the seemingly intractable business problems and turn your organization into an efficient AI strategy, subscribe, follow me, ask me questions for deep evidence-based strategy, the kind of insights that you won't hear anywhere else, but very much focused on having an effect on the real world, not academic conceptualizing, even though I do lecture at one of the top 5 triple accredited UK business schools. Alrighty, so let's make a start. We need to be completely honest with ourselves. The generative AI honeymoon is absolutely and officially over. We're living through a massive reckoning at enterprise level, nationally and also internationally, as you see lots of multinationals now beginning to trim, to say the very least, sometimes pass a scythe through their employee base, and headcounts come tumbling down. After years then of throwing millions at chatbots and prompt engineering and unexpected bills for lots of tokens, boards across the globe are asking a very, very painful and searching question: where is the actual productivity? Now, the tech industry tells us that the answer is not just generative AI and RAG and other stuff, but now agentic AI, maybe agentic as well, agentic AI, autonomous multi-agent systems that can plan, reason, and execute very complex workflows, and sometimes very simple ones, without a human holding their hand and guiding them along. But here is the hard truth for all those tech vendors who don't care about brains, but care a lot about boxes and bytes. They're not going to tell you that agentic AI value will remain completely elusive. And in fact, you'll probably scare it away, so it's even more difficult to surface than today if you treat it like standard software. There is really no world in which you can install an autonomous agent into a legacy corporate environment and expect some kind of magic. Startup, maybe. Legacy corporate environment, maybe not. If you want AI to genuinely transform your business efficiency and decision making in the private sector, but equally this does also apply to the public sector where efficiency matters, although it's not about profit, but it may be about cost minimization or higher return on investment from taxpayer dollars and pounds, you need to stop thinking like a software engineer and start thinking like me, an anthropologist. So what I'm really talking about here is organizational immunology. Let me unpack that a little bit. So for over 25 years, and I've worked at what you could describe as the intersection of human behavior and high stakes organizational systems, from elite corporate boards to intelligence frameworks to ministers to crisis management systems and so on and so forth, national sovereign capability, and the same kind of levels in the private sector as well. And if there's one thing I've learned, of course, there's a lot, but one of the key things that's the safest for me to give away, because I'm not going to give away all of my magic and secrets here, absolutely not. But I'm going to give some very strong pointers as to how things can be done better. But anyway, a thing I have learned is that organizations often behave exactly like living organisms, not as a whole, but in some specific regards. They do, of course, have cultures, habits, unspoken rules, but most importantly, they have an immune system. And sometimes the immune system can be very helpful and benign and encourage things to take root and develop in the same way as we're very happy if we take our supplements, we go to the gym and we grow muscle. But sometimes if we pick up an infection or if we are training really hard and we get an injury, the immune system can go from being our best friend to being, to some degree, our worst enemy. And oftentimes with the installation, the implementation, the enablement of AI into organizations, we're really provoking a very, very strong immune response. And that also really, I think, lends itself to us thinking of that as being an autoimmune response, i.e., the system begins attacking itself. It's not to the system and indeed individuals' best interests to be resisting and rejecting the implemented technology, but nonetheless, that is what happens, and then no one benefits from that. It's wasted effort by the organization, wasted investment, but also because you're not improving actual workflows, you're probably trying to fix workflows that already have shadow workflows that make them work, or ways of working which work for people, and you're trying to replace those with something that won't work for people. You're actually doing something pretty dangerous. When you do drop a powerful autonomous AI agent, even if it's going to be used properly, which it may not be, when you're doing that into an established corporate workflow of workflows, system of systems, you're not just updating the software portfolio that individuals have access to, but you're essentially performing an organizational transplant. And what happens to living organisms, mammals, let's think, when we have an unaligned and unexpected and unwelcome foreign body transplanted into it? Think of parasites, for example. Well, the host tends to reject it. So this is what I call agentic friction. So, of course, technical teams build a brilliant agent, perhaps capable of proactive budget automation, automated strategic mapping, the generation of contractual detail or legal briefs or other things. But because they've totally ignored, they're just ignorant too, the underlying behavioral science perspective of the team using it, the system gets bypassed, ignored, or subtly, or not so subtly, sabotaged. So really the biggest lift in AI adoption isn't model fine-tuning, it's the rather unglamorous work of data governance, stakeholder alignment, and workflow rewiring, which is also an opportunity to fix problems with processes that people already find very annoying, rather than making that very annoying thing even more efficient at annoying them, causing stress, causing upset, causing frictions. It's an opportunity to do what used to be called business process re-engineering, BPR, all at the same time, whilst also involving people in shaping how AI will help them. So there are so many benefits to participative democracy if you're thinking about implementing AI and really building end users into the whole process rather than dropping it in on them as though it's some kind of systemic medicine that will benefit them all equally and instantly. So how do we solve what has become an intractable problem, the 80+% of AI deployment failures, AI agents, 88, who knows what percent, but even if it's over 50%, it's still really bad. The precise figures are not necessarily the thing that should shift the dial in terms of C-suite board awareness and action. So moving from a chaotic playground of disconnected AI tools to a highly structured, scalable AI factory within our organizations, we've got to focus on three core pillars. So the first one is the operational one. So whereas traditional AI waits for a prompt to do something, agentic AI works towards a defined business goal. So we need to know and bring people along with us on this journey of where the autonomy begins and ends, and human oversight begins and ends. The goal here, as with implementation of smoother processes into any activity, the goal isn't to eliminate human judgment, it's to accelerate it and maximize the value of it. It's to leverage innovation and creative thinking rather than provide a blocker or require people to do that all the time, or indeed provide them with very few opportunities to do that thing. Decision support rather than decision replacement. The second aspect, behavioural compatibility. A load of data from world-renowned institutions like MIT, the Sloan Business School, and elsewhere highlight something pretty interesting. AI agents perform drastically better when their personalities and execution styles complement the human teams they support. An overconfident team, therefore, needs an agent that builds in rigorous cross-checks, checks and balances. A risk-averse team needs an agent that uncovers hidden growth opportunities. So we're really here talking about coaching, and whether that coaching is to challenge or to challenge people from being too optimistic, too gung-ho, too prone to pull the trigger, versus the opposite as well. But to know how that would work best, we need to actually have mapped and understood what the teams are doing and what we want them to do more and less of, and what new things they could do more or less of. And it's going to be no secret, I don't think, that I'm bringing you that that's not what organizations do when they think about agentic AI or any AI, or indeed any innovation in the workplace. The third dimension, proof over promises. We need to build continuous validation frameworks. If an agent reclaims 20% of a compliance team's time, that is only actually a measurable and important victory, a KPI we can celebrate, if that 20% is purposely redirected into something else, like higher level strategic decision making. Otherwise, all you're doing is freeing people up to, as it were, be idle, for their minds to wander, for them to be less satisfied in their job, to regard themselves as becoming less professional, as becoming unskilled by AI, de-skilled by AI, where AI is becoming the enemy. Or, of course, even worse, when things don't work, individuals are having to work around and produce new shadow workflows to cope with the problems that a poor AI, a poor agentic AI implementation is having. So then anything that is freed up is very rapidly overconsumed, a bit like tokens, in terms of trying to put things right, in terms of the KPIs that an individual needs to show to maintain their job role, for example, to make sure they secure their OTE bonus, etc. So that's exactly the focus of the work that I think about. I don't look at AI as a computer science problem. I see it sometimes as problems caused by computer scientists, but it also means there are unrealized benefits and great promise within this, as of course all other technologies. I treat this as a human behavioral challenge. I'm not even going to call it a problem, that can be solved with structural strategic precision of knowing better about the environment in which you are transplanting this super powerful technology, if handled correctly. It's kind of like something that's very radioactive. It may be incredibly helpful at sterilizing a food product, but if you're not handling it properly, it's going to irradiate and make your employees very sick. So it can either add value in terms of reducing the cost of wastage and spoilage of a food product, or it can irradiate your employee base. Obviously, not exactly a real world example, but an analogy nonetheless. So when you work with individuals like me who bridge what I would describe, I think fairly, given the amount of reading I do around the opinion that is out there on these topic areas, when you bridge my elite academic insights with also practical and rather battle-tested operational experience in government, the private sector, elsewhere, you stop guessing and you start making sure that you can assist the engineering of predictable outcomes for everybody. And predictable in terms of knowing that things will work to a certain extent, but we don't know how well they'll work. So it's much more about enabling the promise rather than minimizing the risk. So if your organization is currently trying to scale these elusive agentic technologies, we need to look past the user interface, of course. We need to understand the people, any hidden power structures and workflows, communication pipelines, the inertia and drag caused by prior implementations and change management processes which haven't worked. So when we fix that environment and the software of Agentic AI can be a powerful part of that, then organically, dynamically, the performance scale and efficiency bonuses and rewards that were promised can then become actualized, felt, and then we can begin to push and extend the envelope of the value that will be delivered, whether that's to shareholders, employees, investors, or others, or of course the public, if we're talking about the public sector. As we can see with the rate at which some organizations are burning through AI tokens and having very unhelpful league tables of who or which department is burning the most, as though that's a sign of something good, the companies that win the next decade or even 2 to 5 years won't be the ones necessarily with the largest AI budgets, but they will be the ones that master human agent collaboration. That's the asymmetric advantage that those organizations will have, where they will really stunningly exploit the value creation curve that AI can offer when deployed appropriately. Anyway, if you want to move past the hype and start building real high-yielding AI, human, socio-technical infrastructures, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, ask me a question that you'd like me to respond to, and I'll do very much the best I can on that in my conversational, as humorous as possible, light touch way. I am Dr. Mills Hills, the AI anthropologist, and I'll look forward to seeing your comments and seeing you in the next video. Thank you for your time.